Good evening, this is Jack for Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Sunday, the 8th of June. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right, I was going to put on the paywall tomorrow, but I'm actually going to delay that a week. So next Sundays will be the last free one before I put the paywall up. It's just been a very busy week, so I've delayed it a week. All right, great. Let's have a look at the markets now. We finally made the retests of the May highs, basically across the board. We've got possible little level tops forming here. We've got no negative divergence worth the mention, and I'm leaning towards it going higher. But one thing I was talking about last week was the opportunity to see a bit of retracement during some days which were leaning bearish, and Monday this week is leaning bullish. Tuesday and Wednesday are leaning bearish. Then Thursday and Friday are leaning bullish. So if we're going to do any more retracement, then the obvious opportunity to do that would be on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. And I'm going to be watching that with interest. And there's something going on in crypto as well, which is linked to it. After that, I don't know if we're going to see a bull run, but if we are going to see a bull run, then the setup is to start that afterwards. So we will see. In the meantime, we've got a potential little double top as part of a larger double top forming here on NQ. NQ, potential little level top here too, RTY, potential sizable double top here, and YM, sort of medium-sized double top. We pretty much retested the highs across the board, May highs, might be a tick or so short on Dows, but pretty much I'm taking all as made. Obviously, we made all the sell signal targets, and we've got no current divergence. All right, looking at DAX, we've got a 6-minute sell signal fix and another decent-looking little double top here. No obvious pattern on ESTX and no divergence currently either. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay. Right, on SPX, we've now actually finally retraced far enough to actually set up a, to get down below the original rising support trend line I drew in here. Now, this is good because this means that we can actually set up a pattern here. It's not the case across the board. We haven't done the same thing on the Qs yet. And we haven't done it on Dia, but we have at least managed it on SPX, so that is good. If we are going to see a bit more retracement this week, the main thing I would be looking for really is for Dia to get down to this trend line here, and Qs to get down to this trend line here, because then at that stage we can really start forming some patterns. This is also one reason why I'm expecting to go higher. Because at the moment we don't have a decent pattern set up, and to get one we're going to need to go higher, but we will see. All right, looking at ES, we've got a possible weak RSI 5 sell signal brewing. We've got on SPX, we've got a possible weak RSI 14 sell signal brewing and a weak RSI 5 sell signal brewing. These are all weak sell signals, and I'm not taking a lot of notice of them, but I'm aware of them. I think the obvious next big move is to go up and retest the all-time highs, and we're holding daily middle band as good support at the moment, and the 200 DMA below that. All right, looking at the hourly chart, nothing really to see. Looking at the Qs, haven't even quite tested the daily middle band on the downside here yet, but really that's the support across the board pretty much. On the hourly chart, no current divergence. On the 15-minute chart, no current divergence. But as I said, I'd quite like to see it reach this level, and if we do see some retracement this week, that's the area I will be watching for it. On Dia, again, daily middle band is decent support. We've got an RSI 5 sell signal that's reached the possible near miss target, and I'm writing it off at this stage because it's reached the 70 level. So there are no open daily sell signals here. We do have a little bit of divergence, but it's not really anything I would be getting particularly interested in. 15-minute charts, nothing to see. Let's have a look at the IWM charts on the daily chart. No current divergence. Obviously, we reached the 70 level there too. I've got this possible channel here, which I've been watching. And also, we've got the inverse head and shoulders. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and this is breaking up with a potential target at a retest of the all-time high. And this is the main bullish pattern we've got on the board here, and it's interesting to see. Now, obviously, this could fail and go down, but at the moment, I'm not really seeing much of a setup to fail. I'm not seeing any top patterns. I'm not really seeing any well-defined trending patterns from the low. This is all saying to me that we're likely to go higher. On the hourly chart, not a lot to see. 15-minute chart, not a lot to see either. So we're breaking up from the IHS, and we will see where it goes from here. But I'm thinking we don't necessarily need to see any retracement this week, but I'm thinking if we are going to see any, it's likely to be on Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, looking at DAX, we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed. We've got a possible weak RSI 14 sell signal brewing. Not a lot else. Really to suggest that this is going to go down. And I think in the absence of any confirmation from the US charts, I'm not really looking for any kind of high here. In terms of the Nikkei, we're holding the daily middle band just about. We closed above it at the end of the week. If we are going to see a run up, then we could see a retest of this high here at 42.4. All right, let's have a look at currencies. Okay, DX. DX, we actually made the head and shoulder target, which was down in the head and shoulders. Yeah, sorry, I've just moved. I think I left the whole head and shoulders out when I moved this over into the September chart this weekend. But we've got it. We made the little chart, the target down at 98.4, but obviously on this chart that would have been at about 98. We set up a little level bottom, and that level bottom is trying to break up with a target really up into about the 99.9 area if it can get back over the weekly pivot at 98.58. I think that's okay, and this could be part of an oversized double bottom, but it is a bit oversized. Mainly, I'm looking at this short-term pattern. Looking at the other currencies, on euro, not a lot to see, but if we were to go higher, I'm not seeing an obvious trend line here. It might be there is one, but it's not obvious. That could be, but it's not really a great deal to speak of. It's hang on one second. There's a halfway decent one here, but it's only halfway decent. Really, if this is going to be forming a pattern here, I'd be looking for the larger trend line up here, the blue one I've marked up here. But at the moment, it does look as though this might be a little double top here, which will lead to a retracement. And then we will see what goes from there. GBP USD, possible double top. USD JPY breaking very slightly over declining resistance, but not a lot to see. So potential level bottom here on USD CAD, potential level top here on Australian dollar. We'll see how it goes. But looking at DX, we're trying to break up from this double bottom, and I think it's got a decent chance of making target. And we do have a little positive divergence on the bigger picture chart. So let's have a look at that now. All right. USD, we've got a weak RSI 5 buy signal fixed. Now, it's only a weak signal, and it may be that it isn't going to deliver. And we do still have an argument for going down to retest this low here at 97.92. But I am thinking we can see a decent little rally here. We will see. How far will that get? Not necessarily that far at all. But it could get us over this declining resistance trend line, which isn't a bad one. We will see. I am wondering if we might form a bear flag, maybe get a rally up into 102.5 to 103 area. That's an option on the table. Looking at the bigger picture, we've got a bull flag which has formed, and we came down, did an exact touch at the line which I'd previously drawn when we fell from this area here. So we're still looking at an overall bull flag. I'm slightly skeptical about this delivering. I think there's going to be quite a lot of pressure on the dollar to the downside, but nonetheless, it's there. It's high quality, and it needs to be respected until it obviously fails. All right, looking at the euro. Euro on the bigger picture, I'm seeing the mirror image there. I've got a bear flag here, which is a mirror image of the one on DX. And that could deliver a retest of the low. One way or another, though, I'm leaning towards the upside here. On the bigger picture, we've got a falling wedge, it's broken up, then you form the bottoming pattern, then it goes. But this is the kind of pattern that forms over a number of years. This is a falling wedge that's been forming since 2008. and obviously frequently take years to play out as well. In the short term, no current divergence. Looking at GBP, again, we've got a falling wedge. Again, it's breaking up. Again, I'm looking for a bottoming pattern. And again, bigger picture, this is pretty bearish for DX. But again, we could see a retest of the low. Not much indication of seeing that at the moment. USD JPY, we've got this very nice looking rising megaphone. And I'm leaning towards seeing it go down towards retesting this trend line here in about the 116.5 area. USD CAD, nice looking double top here. Both of these charts are leaning down, USD CAD and USD JPY. Both of those, of course, would be bearish for the dollar. Australian dollar, not really seeing an awful lot on here at the moment. Wondering about a retest this low here at 0.478, although that is a retest of a low in 2001. I am wondering if we get enough of a boost, whether we might break this declining resistance trend line, which is a decent one. Or is it? No, it's okay. I mean, it's part of a channel. But if that breaks up, then that kills the channel. I wouldn't be that surprised to see that. NZUSD, I don't have any obvious bigger picture pattern, which makes it unusual. But this is a relatively much smaller player compared to the others. Okay, let's have a look at bonds. ZB. We've been forming this very nice looking bear flag for a while. And I was wondering if this was going to break up when we did this overthrow, but it has broken down. So at the moment, this is what looks like a bear flag breaking down. That's got a target back at a retest of this low, and I'm thinking it's got a decent chance of making that. Looking at ZN, we had a double bottom breakup here, but you can see I also drew a bear flag in there. That bear flag's broken down, and again, it's got a retest at a target at the retest of the low. Now, I've got more to say about this on the bigger picture chart because there seems to be a consensus that, TYX, we got back to 51.53, that overtook this high at 51.52, and actually, that was the highest level this had reached since 2008. Slightly earlier, I think, 2007. Now, this also is potentially starting to break up from a little inverted head and shoulders, although really, arguably, it's still reaching the trend line because it's a slightly up-sloping trend line, and this is only a very marginal high. What this level, however, is very significant. It's the 5% level, and it's a level which is likely to be defended by the Fed. In the event that we see more hits at this level, and we may be about to see another hit at this level, then this is an area where the Fed is likely to try and defend the yield by manipulating bonds and putting enough in the market or buying bonds, really, in this particular instance, buying enough bonds to keep the yields down. So I'm not really expecting to see a hard breakup because I think the Fed would be defending that for a while before they allowed that. But it is very interesting, and we are kicking against resistance here. And if that flag plays out, then we're probably going to see a retest of this high here at 51.53. All right, looking at TNX, we haven't seen the retest of the high here yet, but I'm thinking the pattern setup is suggesting that we're probably going to. This is basically a bullish consolidation setup. I'm expecting to see in due course a retest of this high here at 49.97. On the daily chart, no current divergence. We're holding on the weekly chart, no current divergence. We're holding the weekly middle band. And on the daily chart, we've just broken back above the daily middle band. So obviously bonds down, yields up. So I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of this 46.29 and possibly a move upwards. But I think there's going to be a lot of resistance against TYX going much over, significantly over the current high at 51.53. We shall see. Looking at TLT, this could be an inverted head and shoulders forming here, and actually it wouldn't be a bad one at all. I drew in some arrows here. I'm not sure how seriously to take it, but in the short term, what I'm leaning towards is seeing, again, we've got a bear flag, again, it's breaking down. So we've got bear flags on ZB, ZN, and we've got another one here on TLT. All of these are breaking down, and I think we may well see retest the low across the board. Those may form the second lows of double bottoms. So we shall see. And unless the Fed is going to allow yields to rise further, and I think they would defend it, then I'd be leaning towards these being double bottoms and potentially setting up a larger rally in bonds. Okay, let's have a look at CL. CL, we've broken up over this, the obvious flag resistance here. I've got another trend line up here at about the on the 67.2 area, and we've got a pretty decent looking rising wedge forming here. That's got resistance up here at about the 65.4 area, and I'm thinking that might then break down and take us somewhere. Is there a clear overall pattern here? Not yet. And this could be a bearish overthrow of this trend line still. Watching that with interest. On HO, we've got a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing, but it's weak. And we've got, no, sorry, that's a full size one. It is this one that's weak. I'm sorry, I need to mark that in. So we've got a little bit of negative divergence. We've seen some strength, some significant strength, and that may follow through to the upside. I'm not sure how seriously to take the relatively weak divergence that we're looking at, but we have got some possible 60-minute sell signal, which is now fixed on CL, is now fixed, sell signal fixed on HO, and RBOB. We have no current divergence, but I'm wondering if this wedge might be expanding and we might head back into this trend line here in the 2.19 area. NG is basically at the top of the range. We've been in a range really for a month, or thick end of, and we've gone down, we've gone up. We're at the top of the range, so we'll see whether we can manage a breakup. I'm keeping an open mind on that one. On the bigger picture, I'm mainly seeing a case to the downside. That doesn't mean that we can't see a decent rally on both oil and gas. Now, on the oil chart, I've got to say one thing I am looking at here is this nice looking channel here. Now, I did say that if we got down and retested the low, which we never quite managed, then we could well be looking at getting a double bottom and then potentially going up to the top of this channel. If this channel held, then it is relatively bullish short term because the resistance is up in the 77.5 area. I'm not certain how serious to take that, but we're not seeing a hard breakdown at the moment. I'm watching this declining resistance, which I've got up in about the 73 area. And if we see it break over that, provisionally, that's going to look fairly bullish, and that would be a falling wedge resistance from this level here at 126.42. Looking at heating oil, another potential falling wedge there. I've got resistance up in about the 2.4 area. Looking at gas oil, we're already slightly over the trend line there, and we're testing the monthly middle band as resistance. I've got that at 2.24. No current divergence here. There's nothing really giving us a strong lean in one direction or the other. We shall see. All right, natural gas. I'm still thinking that with the double bottom here that broke up is failing. And we could be forming a head and shoulders right shoulder here. But I think whatever we're doing, it's likely in due course to be resolving down. Looking at the daily chart, no current divergence and no real prospect of getting any. I am wondering whether in the short term this might be the second high of a double top to take us lower. Okay, looking at GC. GC, I was saying on Friday morning that we had a little level top that's broken down, and that's broken down with a target in about the 32.85 area. I think it's got a decent shot at making that. No current positive divergence, but on the bigger picture, this is a bull flag that has broken up. Unless it's forming into an alternative bull flag, I'm expecting after this retracement here, I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to head up and retest the all-time high. Silver has been pretty strong. I've got this channel here which I'm watching carefully, as it's a very nice channel, and I'm leaning towards probably this breaking down as some kind of retracement and then going higher. But on the bigger picture, I'm liking the upside. Palladium has done very well. This could be the second high of a double top that I think we may be about to escape upwards, and we've already escaped upwards on platinum, which has actually broken its 2-year range, compression range. fairly convincingly. All right, 60-minute sell signal to be noted is fixed on platinum. And I am wondering about more downside. I've got another one of those on silver, nothing on gold, nothing on palladium, and nothing currently on HG. But I do have more negative divergence that I'm still watching and is still outstanding on metals. So I'm thinking that precious metals particularly might retrace a bit more before we go higher. Looking at copper, this looks like a rising megaphone. Next obvious target would be a test of the monthly pivot, 4.68, because that's where pretty much the trend line for this is. We shall see. Could this be the second high of a double top? Potentially, but it wouldn't be a very nice setup. Bigger picture, again, I mean, look, I'm looking for economic weakness in the US, and I think that's going to be bad for energies, it's going to be bad for copper, and it's going to be bad for lumber particularly. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. Let's have a look at gold. Gold, no really obvious current signals at the moment. We've broken up from this flag. We're back testing. We're testing the gain middle band, but I am still watching some resist. We've got some negative divergence, obviously, on the futures charts, on the hourly charts. On GDX, we've got an hourly RSI 14 sell signal, which hasn't reached the possible near miss target yet. We've got another one. That's on GDX, and we've got another one on GDXJ. So I am leaning probably towards seeing a bit more on metals and then likely higher. On silver, I've drawn in two obvious resistance trend lines here, and at the moment we're going through the first one, and that's good because I prefer the second one anyway, and that one has a target slightly over 38. I think there's a pretty good chance that's where this is heading, so we shall see. No current negative divergence, getting a little stretched maybe on the RSI 5, so if we see a bit of retracement, that wouldn't be a bad thing. On palladium, bigger picture, I'm still wondering if this is an overall bear flag forming, but that bear flag could potentially take us up into about 1300, 1400 area before it heads back down to the lows again. We shall see. On the daily chart, no current divergence. On platinum, we had this long consolidation lasting 2 years, and we've broken up from it convincingly, and we've gone back up to the top of that compression triangle and have overcome that. So this is a very nice breakup. No obvious sign currently of weakness. No current negative divergence. I'm liking this higher. Might need to see a bit of retracement here, as with the other metals, and play out the negative divergence there. All right, looking at copper. Copper, I'm still thinking this is a double top. I'm still thinking on the bigger picture, we're going to be heading down into the low twos. In the short term, though, we've been seeing a bit of strength, no current negative divergence, no obvious setup to come down straight away. All right, already covered GDX. We've made some nice higher highs there. We are seeing some retracement, and I'm moving towards those going higher after as well. All right, great. Let's have a look at the commodities. Right, let's have a look at coffee. Okay, coffee. We had this very nice looking falling wedge, and it broke up, and we have made it up to this level here, and we pulled back. I think one of two things is likely happening here. Either we're forming the right shoulder on inverted head and shoulders as we reached a possible neckline that I had in mind, and we could head straight back up from here. We've got no sell signal here, so we will see, or we could be coming back in for a retest of this low, very possibly to make the second low of a double bottom. Looking at sugar, sugar hasn't quite reached the support trend line. I redrew that because the old one obviously wasn't working. But I am wondering about that reaching it, maybe setting up a positive divergence and then heading back up to resistance in the 17 area. Bigger picture, this is likely to break up and at least deliver some retracement to the upside. On the much bigger picture, we've broken down from our head and shoulders, and I am wondering if after a rally, then this is going to deliver a lot more downside. CC, this looks like a bear flag at the moment. That would be setting up a retest of this low. We will see how that goes. We've got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed. Looking at cotton, this still looks like a potential level bottom, not much to indicate. This looks like a bear flag forming on lumber. And likely is. On ZW, we've gone back up and we're almost back at the retest of this high. No current negative divergence. This could be the second high of a small double top. On corn, Nice looking little level bottom here. If we see a sustained break up over this level here, which is at about the 446 area, and then we can see a move up into 457, 458 area. All right, soy. Soy, this is interesting because we've actually got a nice bull flag set up here, and we closed Friday at the resistance for that. And we also, we did exactly the same on soybean oil. Again, we've got something that looks like a flag. Again, we closed the week testing the resistance on it. I think both of these might be about to break up. On live cattle, we've got a nice looking wedge, and it's gone to the first of my trend lines here. I've got another one slightly higher in about the 220 and change area. On lean hogs, I've got a nice looking wedge here, and this is breaking up slightly. This could be a bearish overthrow. But it's not particularly encouraging for bears that this sell signal, which had fixed and was a decent one, has failed. We will see. We could be seeing an expansion of this pattern to the upside. All right, let's have a look at that on the bigger picture charts. Okay, coffee. Coffee looking a bit stretched by historical standards. Wondering about maybe an ABC bull flag. Not a lot of indication in the short term, and no current divergence. No divergence really on this chart either. Keep an open mind. The obvious resistance is what we've reached here, which is the daily middle band. If that holds, then we're going to continue down. I'd expect to go lower than 3.26. If that can break, we've got some prospects to the upside. Looking at sugar, this is the reason I'm worrying about this going down a lot. And this is the head and shoulders that's broken down realistically with a target at 0.0905. This could deliver. So this is why I was thinking that this losing this bit here, bigger picture, isn't particularly encouraging news. I'm thinking we might see a rally, but that might just be a rally to backtest the head and shoulder neckline before this goes down considerably more. Looking at the weekly chart, no current divergence. Looking at the daily chart, we had some positive divergence on the daily, and we lost it as we were going down. I've got a couple of potential support trend lines here, which I've drawn in. Nothing with any great conviction at the moment. All right, looking at cocoa, we're very stretched by historical standards, and we've been going up a bit here. I'm waiting really. The main support you can see here is on the cocoa monthly middle band. I've got that at 8291, and we've seen test here, we've seen test here. We're waiting for that to break down. We've got a decent looking double top at the moment. We would have a slightly more credible double top if we went back up and retested this high, and it's possible we could do that. And the reason I say that is because this, on a breakdown, almost takes us back to zero. It's too large for a double top. Set one up with a support level here, and it's a little more credible. We shall see. On the daily chart, no current divergence. Broken back above the daily middle band with some confidence. On the wheat chart, bigger picture, this is a falling wedge. It's broken up, looking for bottoming patterns, and this could be a double bottom already formed. Isn't necessarily done yet, but I am wondering about another retest of this low, which gets to the low 49550, but it's on the cards. On the daily chart, no current divergence. Nice rally off the lows. In the short term, this may well be an inverted head and shoulders, and we're actually testing the neckline at the moment to see if it will break up. If it does break up, the target is at 609, the retest of this high here, which is the top of the previous move down. Okay, looking at corn. Corn got a wedge here, got a nice looking little double bottom here, and I'm wondering if that might deliver. We've got a possible daily week RSI 5 buy signal break. Sorry, weekly. On the daily chart, no current divergence, but you can see the nice looking little double bottom, and it's actually pretty tasty. So we will see. Looking at soybeans, bigger picture, corn and wheat both broken up from big falling wedges. Here we haven't broken up from it yet, but we've been getting pretty close to resistance, and I'm wondering if it might. Shorter term though, I am thinking this looks an awful lot like a bear flag. It's not a great quality bear flag, but it does look like a bear flag. So I am wondering again about a possible retest of the low. Looking at cotton, big falling wedge, again hasn't broken up yet. Potential level bottom here already set up. Looking at lumber, this very much looks like a bear flag. Going in more closely, this could be a little level top. Wondering about a breakdown. but we will see. Nothing with any conviction, no current diversions. All right, great. In that case, that's a wrap. I will catch you guys again on Wednesday. All right, take care.